You might find this offensive, but smart people are actually the easiest to manipulate. Okay, so look, I'm not going to do a video about what propaganda is, even though that's exactly what this video is, because you already know what propaganda is. That's kind of the problem. You see, the most effective propaganda is the kind that teaches you to see it everywhere, except the spot you're already standing. Your uncle throws the word at CNN, your professor throws the word at Fox News, and the government uses it to describe whatever the other government is doing. And by the time it lands in your feed, it's been so thoroughly weaponized that it just means information I personally disagree with. Which is, and I need you to sit with this for a second, exactly how propaganda works. I've spent the last few years on this channel pulling apart the machinery behind what you see online. The manufactured consent, the influence operations, and the psyops with a PR budget and a verified checkmark. So today we're going to go all the way back to where this word even came from, to the man who turned it into an industry, and to the 6 techniques that are behind every piece of content you see on your timeline today. And by the end of this, you'll have the framework for catching it yourself in real time. Let's get into it. The first thing that people get wrong is they think propaganda is just lying. If it were just lying, it would be easy. You'd fact check it and move on. But propaganda is much more structural than that. Here's the distinction I want you to hold on to. If I tell you the vaccine has a chip in it, that's a lie, falsifiable. You can check that. But if I spend 6 months making you mistrust doctors, government, the media, and your own neighbors, so that when the vaccine comes out, you're already emotionally positioned to reject it no matter what the evidence says. That's propaganda. And I may not have told you a single false thing to get you there. The goal isn't to misinform you once, it's to reshape how you process information. That way, when the truth does show up, you're already immunized against it. That's the architecture, not the individual bricks, the blueprint. And the reason I use that framing isn't accidental, of course, because I'm going to show you who built the blueprint. The word propaganda goes back to 1622. Pope Gregory XV created the Congregatio de Propaganda Fide, the Congregation for the Propagation of the Faith, a Vatican committee for spreading Christianity to non-Christian lands. So the origin story for the word propaganda is, at its core, a church marketing department. I think about that way more than I should. Fast forward 300 years to World War I, Britain, Germany, the US, all of them run full-scale industrial-style propaganda operations for the very first time. Posters, pamphlets, films, newspapers. They realized you could manufacture consent for a war the same way you manufactured artillery shells. You just needed the right factory. And then came along a man named Edward Bernays. Sigmund Freud's nephew, by the way, which is just a fun little detail that has nothing to do with this video, came along and wrote a book, 1928. The title, Propaganda. The opening line, the conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. He didn't write that as a warning. He wrote it as a job application. So who was Edward Bernays? And what did he do with that job application? He convinced American women to smoke cigarettes by staging a PR event at the 1929 Easter Parade. He hired women to smoke publicly and called cigarettes torches of freedom. That was a feminist liberation campaign funded by a tobacco company. He doubled bacon consumption in America by commissioning a study which he funded himself, claiming that doctors recommended a hearty breakfast.
Many years ago, our client was the Beachy Packing Company. One of their basic problems was bacon. We made a research and found out that the American public ate very light breakfasts of coffee, maybe a roll, and orange juice. We thereupon decided, we went to our physician, found that a heavy breakfast was sounder from the standpoint of health than a light breakfast because the body loses energy during the night and needs it during the day. We asked the physician, after telling him why we were talking to him, would he be willing, at no cost, to write to 5,000 physicians and ask them whether their judgment was the same as his, confirmed his judgment. He said he would be glad to do it. We got about 4,500 answers. All of them concurred that a heavy breakfast was better for the health of the American people than a light breakfast. Newspapers throughout the country had headlines saying 4,500 physicians urge heavy breakfast in order to improve health of American people. Many of them stated that bacon and eggs should be embodied with the breakfast, and as a result, the sale of bacon went up. And I still have a letter from Bartlett Arkell, president of Beachy Packing Company, telling me so.
Honestly, shout out for that. bacon is delicious. And perhaps most significantly, he convinced the US government to help the United Fruit Company overthrow the government of Guatemala in 1954, because the company didn't want their banana monopoly threatened by land reform. Classic. Public Relations 101. None of it technically illegal, almost none of it technically a lie. In 1937, an organization called the Institute for Propaganda Analysis codified 6 techniques. They were doing a public service, giving the people a toolkit for recognizing manipulation in real time. And we're going to go through each of them slowly because you're probably going to recognize each of them, all of them, from your own timeline, from like yesterday. 1. Name calling. Don't engage with the policy. Don't address the evidence. Attach a label. Radical, extreme, fascist, woke. The label does the work, so the argument doesn't have to. You don't have to engage with the idea when you've already disqualified the person holding it. 2. Transfer. Associate the thing you want people to trust with the thing they already trust. A flag behind the podium. A cross behind the politician. A celebrity holding the product. The trust transfers automatically without anyone agreeing to let it. 3. Testimonial. Get a respected face to endorse it. Doesn't matter if they've read it. Doesn't matter if they're an expert. The face is the argument. Full stop. 4. Plain folks. I'm just like you. I eat where you eat. I got student loans. My family worked with their hands. Watch me not wear a tie. The performance of ordinariness is one of the most powerful moves in political communication. You've seen it. You've felt it. You've had it work on you because most of us have. You know, sometimes I film these videos over multiple days, and sometimes you show up back to a spot where you filmed half of a video and somebody has tagged it. Whatever. 5. Card stacking. Only show the evidence that supports your conclusion. Not lying, technically, more like curating reality. Every documentary does this. Every trial lawyer does this. You've done this when you come up with an excuse for why you were late to work or something. The audience only sees what you choose to include. And 6, the bandwagon. Everybody sees this. Everyone is doing this. You don't want to be the only one who doesn't see it, do you? The fear of being ostracized from the group has been around for as long as there have been people. They just finally figured out how to monetize it. Now here's the thing that starts getting to me every time I start thinking about this. The Institute for Propaganda Analysis, the organization which tried to codify these 6 techniques and put them into the hands of ordinary citizens, was shut down almost immediately after publishing them. Turns out, the American government found it deeply inconvenient for the American citizens to know how all of this worked. Shocking, I know. Okay, so here's where this all stops being history. Those 6 techniques are still running. They just changed platforms. A few weeks ago, a paper came out showing that the Department of Defense ordered every embassy on Earth to recruit local influencers and community leaders to spread pro-American messaging, specifically designed to make it look like it came from locals, not from Washington. This order also directs them to coordinate with the Pentagon Psychological Operations Unit. That's PSYOPs, folks. You know, I seem to remember Russia doing this back in 2024, and we called it an attack on democracy. America put it in a memo and sent it to every embassy in the world. And I bring that up not to make some partisan point. I've been critical of everyone in this space. I hate all politicians. I bring it up because it's exactly what an industrial-scale propaganda operation looks like in 2026. It's not a smoky room. It's not a document. It's a budget line. It's a platform you're already on. Let's check out what's underneath all of it. Shall we? Social media algorithms don't care if something is true. They only care if it makes you feel something strong enough to interact with it. Outrage, fear, tribal solidarity. These emotions generate engagement. Engagement generates ad revenue. So the platform is financially incentivized to surface the most emotionally activating content, which disproportionately, because of the math, is propagandistic content. Not because anyone necessarily planned it that way, because the incentive structure just works out like that. And I do want to be clear here because I've spent time covering Tucker Carlson and Andrew Tate and influence operations across the political spectrum. This is not a right-wing problem. This is not a left-wing problem. This is an attention economy problem. Whoever is trying to move you, politically, commercially, culturally, is using these same 6 techniques. The only difference is the direction they want you to move. When your outrage is what's being harvested, It doesn't matter if the harvester agrees with you or not. You're still the crop. So, what do you do with all of this? I'm not going to sit here and tell you that knowing all of this makes you immune to it, because it doesn't. I consume propaganda, you consume propaganda, we all consume propaganda. Everyone does. The goal isn't to opt out. You can't opt out. The goal is to become a harder target, to put some daylight between the input and your reaction before you do something with it. Just 3 questions, but get in the habit of asking all 3. Question 1. Who benefits if I believe this? Not is it true, not does it feel right? Who benefits? Every piece of content has a creator, and every creator has a reason they want you to feel the way they're making you feel. Follow that incentive. It will tell you more than the actual piece of content itself. Question 2. What am I being shown? Card stacking is invisible by definition. You only see what they chose to include. So actively ask yourself, what would the strongest opposing evidence look like? What's the counter-argument I haven't heard yet? If you've never been presented with it, well, then you've never really understood the problem. You've been managed through it. Question 3. Am I being given a conclusion or a reason? Propaganda gives you conclusions dressed up as reasons. This is dangerous. This person is bad. This is the only option. Real information gives you the premise and lets you build on top of that. If someone is working very hard to tell you what to think and not how to think, notice that. That gap is where manipulation lives. That's the whole toolkit. 3 questions. Not complicated, just inconvenient. Because a lot of people and institutions are invested in you not asking them. Propaganda isn't what the other side does. It's a technology. And like any technology, a printing press, a nuclear reactor, a social media algorithm, or a coordinated propaganda campaign running out of every American embassy on Earth, what matters is who's holding it and what they're trying to build. Knowing the word propaganda doesn't protect you. Reading articles about it doesn't protect you. The only thing that actually moves the needle is trying to build the habit of asking 3 things every time something is trying to make you feel something. Why am I being shown this? Who wants me to feel this way? And what do they want me to do next? Ask those questions enough times and you stop being an audience. You start being a witness. I'm Gemini Jonny, and I make videos about how information gets manufactured. If this was useful, you know the drill. Hit the subscribe, hit the like button for me. Makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Go check out some of my past videos. And until next time, seek the truth.